stand frozen in the center of my parents' Chicago penthouse, a champagne flute clutched in my hand, as the world collapses around me. The jazz quartet in the corner continues playing some mellow standard, oblivious to the bomb that's just been dropped in the middle of Monica's 36th birthday celebration. "Ladies and gentlemen," my father announces, his voice carrying across the room with the practiced authority of a senior partner at Mitchell & Associates. "I'd like to make a special announcement on this joyous occasion." Richard Mitchell raises his crystal flute, the overhead lights catching on his Rolex. "Our Valerie is generously giving her Manhattan penthouse to Monica as a birthday gift." A stunned silence hangs for one perfect crystallized moment before enthusiastic applause erupts from the gathered family and friends. 35 pairs of eyes turn to me expectantly, waiting for my confirmation of this magnificent gesture. My heartbeat pounds in my ears. The penthouse, my sanctuary, the home I purchased with my own money, after years of 60-hour work weeks and sacrificed weekends. The place where I finally felt safe, independent, and accomplished. And apparently, I'm giving it away. News to me. "Val, say something." My mother Elaine whispers from beside me, her smile strained at the edges. Everyone's waiting. I look across the room to my sister Monica, resplendent in her crimson designer gown, her face glowing with triumph poorly disguised as surprise. She gives me a little finger wave. The room waits. Cousins, aunts, uncles, my parents' country club friends, all watching this performance with champagne-tinged anticipation. I take a slow, deliberate breath. "No." The word comes out calm and clear, cutting through the expectant murmurs. "I earned that penthouse every late night. Every dollar it's mine." My father's smile vanishes like a light switched off. "Valerie," he says, a warning embedded in each syllable of my name. "I'm not giving away my home," I continue, looking directly at him. "I never agreed to this." Richard hands the microphone to my uncle and strides toward me, his face darkening to a dangerous red. When he reaches me, he leans in close, his cologne suffocating. "You will not embarrass this family," he hisses. "Not today." "I'm not the one making announcements about someone else's property," I reply, keeping my voice steady. His face contorts. Before I can react, his hand swings upward, connecting with my cheek with a crack that echoes across the suddenly silent room. The force knocks me sideways. My sapphire earring, the ones grandmother Evelyn gave me for my 30th birthday, tears free and bounces across the marble floor with tiny metallic pings. The jazz quartet fumbles to a stop mid-phrase. Several phones appear, recording the unfolding scene. Perfect. Nothing like a viral family meltdown. Earlier today, I'd stood in my hotel room practicing what I'd say when I arrived at this party, practicing how I'd tell them about securing $40 million in funding for my fintech firm, the biggest accomplishment of my career. How I'd casually mention it while pouring wine, not making a big deal of it, but at least getting it acknowledged. I'd transferred $1,200 to my mother's account for the wine and catering, a contribution she'd requested but hadn't thanked me for. Another small slight in a lifetime collection. When I'd arrived, Monica had floated in 20 minutes later in her designer gown, immediately showered with compliments and attention. "Doesn't she look stunning?" my mother had gushed, while my father beamed with pride. My funding news went unmentioned, despite my careful casual reference over appetizers. Instead, Uncle Leonard had patted my shoulder and asked, "How's that little computer job going?" before walking away without waiting for my answer. Now I stand with my cheek burning, surrounded by shocked faces and recording phones, the truth finally crystallizing. This isn't about Monica's birthday. It's about putting me in my place. I bend down slowly, my fingers finding the sapphire earring on the cool marble. I straighten, slipping it into my pocket, and walk with measured steps toward the exit. Whispers follow me. I hear ungrateful and selfish and always difficult, trailing in my wake. Aunt Carol grabs my arm as I pass. "Don't ruin your sister's special day," she pleads, her fingers digging into my skin. I look down at her manicured hand, then back to her face. "I didn't," I say quietly, gently removing her fingers from my arm. "Dad did." I continue walking, back straight, eyes forward, ignoring my mother's calls behind me. The door closes, with a soft click that feels more final than any slam could have. In the hallway, I press the elevator button and wait, my reflection staring back at me from the polished doors, one earring missing, a red mark blooming on my cheek. But my eyes clearer than they've been in years. For the first time in my life, I'm not calculating how to make amends, how to smooth things over, how to earn back their approval. Instead, I'm thinking about phone calls I need to make, about security codes that need changing, about how my grandmother will react when she hears what happened tonight. The elevator arrives with a gentle chime. As I step inside, I realize my hands have stopped shaking. The hotel room door clicks shut behind me. My hand trembles as I slide the dead bolt into place, a pathetic barricade against the storm brewing beyond. I kick off my heels and sink onto the edge of the king-sized bed, the events of the evening replaying in vivid, humiliating detail. My phone buzzes relentlessly. A parade of notifications marches across the screen. Missed calls from mom, voicemails from aunts, texts from cousins claiming they just want to help. I silence them all with one decisive swipe. Instead, I call the one person who won't demand explanations or apologies. Val, what happened? Sabrina's voice carries the warm concern of a 20-year friendship. They tried to give away my penthouse, I say, surprised by how calm I sound. Dad announced it as Monica's birthday gift. A long silence follows. Then, those manipulative bastards. She takes a breath. Val, they've been planning this for months. The floor seems to tilt beneath me. What? I didn't know until now, but it all makes sense. Remember last month when Monica mentioned her decorator friend? She wasn't asking for recommendations. I grip the phone tighter. Explain. Check your texts. I'm sending screenshots from Monica's Instagram stories. She's been touring your place with some designer from Elle Decor. My screen fills with images of my penthouse, my sanctuary, with Monica pointing at walls, discussing changes with a woman in tortoiseshell glasses. The captions bubble with excitement. Planning my Manhattan dream home, and new chapter beginning soon. How did she get in? My voice sounds distant, unfamiliar. Your spare key, probably. But there's more. Your parents sent out emails weeks ago, telling everyone you'd agreed to this generous gift. Hold on. I'm forwarding one now. The email appears on my screen. Dad's confident language setting expectations. Our Valerie will do the right thing, as always. We're counting on family support to ensure this transition goes smoothly. Transition. The word tastes bitter, like I'm being processed through some system. Your father's been telling his golf buddies he bankrolled your entire career, Sabrina continues. Claims he pulled strings to get you that Series B funding. A laugh escapes me, sharp and humorless. Dad wouldn't recognize a term sheet if it slapped him across the face. I touch my cheek, still warm from his hand, which seems to be his preferred method of negotiation anyway. My laptop chimes with an incoming email. My executive assistant Margot has sent security footage from my building's lobby, dated 3 days ago. Monica glides through, waving a keycard at the doorman with casual entitlement. She's been giving private tours, I say, stomach turning, acting like it's already hers. Your sister's never earned anything in her life, Sabrina says, disgust edging her words. Remember when your parents bought her that boutique after her third career change? Bankrupt within a year. My phone buzzes with an unfamiliar ringtone, Grandmother Evelyn's special chime. I never ignore her calls. Sabrina, I need to take this. It's Grandmother. Call me after. And Val, you're staying with me tonight. My guest room is already made up. I switch calls, heart pounding. Valerie. Grandmother Evelyn's voice carries the crisp authority of old money and decades of boardroom dominance. I heard what happened. This ends now. Relief washes through me. How did you? Carol's daughter-in-law live-streamed the whole debacle. Richard striking you. She pauses, and I hear the controlled fury beneath her measured tone. Unforgivable. I didn't know they were planning this, I say. Of course you didn't. But I suspect they've been scheming for quite some time. The soft tap of her cane punctuates her words. Check your email in 5 minutes. My attorney is sending documents you'll find illuminating. Before I can respond, another text arrives. From Cousin Derek. I should have warned you. Uncle Richard made us all promise not to spoil the surprise. I'm so sorry, Val. As I process his words, my phone vibrates with a voicemail notification. Dad. I steel myself and press play. You embarrassed this family tonight. His voice is low, controlled, more frightening than if he were shouting. There will be consequences, Valerie. You've made a very serious mistake. The message ends abruptly. No goodbye, just a threat hanging in the air. Another notification chimes. An email from Caldwell and Barnes, the family's legal firm, with the subject line, regarding Mitchell family trust and property considerations. The carefully worded message hints at exploring options regarding my contested property. Action. They're threatening legal action over my property, purchased with my money. My laptop pings again. Margot forwarding Monica's latest Instagram story, posted minutes ago. A sunset view from my penthouse terrace, captioned, "My new beginning." Some people just don't understand family sacrifice. The comments overflow with sympathy. So unfair how selfish some people can be. And, "You deserve this fresh start, honey." A text arrives from Monica herself. "You've ruined everything. Again." Mom's crying and Dad's furious. "This was supposed to be my special day." As if on cue, my email alerts me to 3 canceled meetings with potential partners, all connections through Uncle Leonard's business network. The retaliation has begun, swift and coordinated. My phone rings again. Sabrina. "They're closing ranks," I tell her, my voice steadier than I expected. "Trying to cut me off professionally." "Then we fight back," she says without hesitation. "You're not alone in this, Val. Stay with me while we figure this out." For the first time since leaving the party, I feel something beyond shock and betrayal, a flicker of determination, small, but growing. "I'll be there tomorrow," I say, already gathering my things. "And Sabrina, thank you." As I pack, my grandmother's email arrives, financial records, trust documents, and a handwritten note. "They've overplayed their hand, dear. Let them." The hotel room suddenly feels too small, too exposed. I need sanctuary, not in my compromised penthouse, but with people I can trust. For 31 years, I've been the family peacekeeper, the one who compromises to keep everyone happy. Tonight, that version of Valerie Mitchell left the building, and she's not coming back. The next morning, my phone buzzed for the 12th time in 20 minutes. The family group chat has exploded since last night, each message more accusatory than the last. "Aunt Carol, Valerie has always been selfish, but this takes the cake. Uncle Leonard, Richard and Elaine deserve better after everything they've done. Cousin Jennifer, Monica has been crying all morning. Hope you're happy, Val." I silence the notifications and toss the phone onto the hotel bed. Outside my window, Chicago's skyline gleams in the morning light, indifferent to the Mitchell family drama unfolding behind closed doors. Sabrina calls while I'm packing my suitcase. "Your father just contacted 3 of your board members," she says without preamble. "He's suggesting you're having some kind of breakdown." "Wonderful." I fold a blouse with precise movements. "Which ones?" "Harrington, Mendoza, and Weber." Harrington called me immediately. "He's known your family too long to buy whatever Richard is selling." A small mercy. Still, the calculated attack on my professional reputation makes my jaw clench. "Have you seen Monica's Instagram story?" Sabrina continues. "I haven't, but I can imagine. Let me guess. She's crying into the camera while positioning herself as the wounded party? Complete with a family-first hashtag and a Bible verse about forgiveness. I snap my suitcase closed with more force than necessary. She's never forgiven anyone in her life. Downstairs, the doorman hails me a taxi. As we merge into traffic, my phone rings again. Unknown number. "Hello? Is this Valerie Mitchell?" The voice belongs to Cassandra Reynolds, chair of the Downtown Women's Foundation. Speaking. I'm calling about your position on our fundraising committee." Her voice cools. "Your Aunt Carol mentioned you're experiencing some difficulties." "Of course she did. I assure you, Miss Reynolds, the only difficulty I'm experiencing is family members spreading rumors after I refused to give my sister my Manhattan penthouse as a birthday gift." The silence on the other end speaks volumes. I see. Her tone shifts slightly. "Well, perhaps we should discuss this in person when things settle down." Another relationship casualty in the Mitchell family war. By afternoon, I've received 6 more calls from concerned associates. My phone chimes with a text from my grandmother as I check into my flight. "Evelyn, come to me before you leave the city. 4 p.m. We need to talk." Grandmother Evelyn doesn't ask questions. She issues directives. At exactly 4 p.m., I knock on the carved mahogany door of her Gold Coast apartment. The door swings open to reveal my grandmother, diminutive but commanding in a tailored burgundy suit, silver hair swept into an elegant chignon. Her sapphire earrings, identical to the pair she gave me, catch the light. Valerie. She extends her cheek for a kiss. Right on time, as always. I follow her through the foyer into a sitting room, where afternoon sunlight streams through floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lake Michigan. The space smells of gardenias and old money. Sit, she gestures to a cream-colored armchair. Harrison will bring tea momentarily. I sink into the chair, suddenly exhausted. Grandmother Evelyn studies me, her gaze lingering on my cheek, where the foundation covers the fading mark of my father's hand. So, she says finally, Richard struck you. Not a question. Yes. Because you wouldn't surrender your home to Monica. Yes. Her eyes narrow. And now they're mounting a campaign to make you the villain. I nod, throat tight. Harrison, Evelyn's longtime butler, enters with a silver tea service. She waits until he withdraws before speaking again. Richard has always believed he controls this family. She pours tea with steady hands. He's maintained that illusion for decades. But it's time you understood the truth. She rises, crosses to an antique secretary desk, and removes a thick leather portfolio. Your grandfather left the management of his estate to me, not Richard. The family trust, the real estate holdings, the investment portfolio, all of it answers to me. She places the portfolio in my lap. Including the partnership where your father works. He is not, as he claims, a senior partner. He is an employee who can be removed. I stare at her, struggling to process this revelation. But Dad always said. Richard says many things. Documents speak louder. She taps the portfolio. I've allowed him to pretend because it suited me. Now it doesn't. She lowers herself back into her chair, regal and uncompromising. I've watched how they treat you for years. The dismissals, the favoritism toward Monica, the constant expectation that you will bend to their demands. Her voice hardens. I've documented every incident, every manipulation, every lie. I flip through the portfolio financial records, correspondence, photographs, transcripts of conversations, years of meticulous evidence gathering. Why didn't you say anything before? I needed to see what you would do on your own. She sips her tea. And now I have. You stood your ground. You refused to be bullied, even when it cost you. That's the Mitchell backbone, my side of the family, not Richard's. She sets down her cup with a decisive clink. I've summoned the family to dinner here tomorrow evening, all of them. My stomach tightens. I didn't ask what you think. Her eyes soften slightly. Stand firm, my dear. It's time Richard learned who actually controls the Mitchell fortune. The next evening, I was waiting for everyone at Evelyn's apartment as instructed. Sabrina comes 10 minutes early and waits in the foyer, clutching a leather briefcase. Your grandmother is terrifying, she whispers. In the best possible way. What are you doing here? She pats the briefcase, bringing documentation, proving you purchased the penthouse entirely with your own funds. Your grandmother requested it. A door opens, and Harrison appears. Miss Mitchell, Miss Torres, Madam is ready for you. We follow him to Evelyn's private study, where she sits behind a massive desk, reviewing documents with a silver-haired man I recognize as Thomas Blackwell, her personal attorney for over 30 years. Excellent. Evelyn glances up. The others will arrive in 20 minutes. We'll let them settle in the dining room before we make our entrance. From a hidden speaker, I hear the chime of the front doorbell. That will be Derek, Evelyn says, checking her watch. He arrived early as requested. Cousin Derek enters, tall and somewhat awkward in a suit that looks hastily donned. He nods to me, eyes serious. Valerie, I should have warned you what they were planning. You're making it right now, Evelyn interjects. That's what matters. Over the next 15 minutes, we listen as the apartment fills with voices. My parents, Monica, Aunt Carol, Uncle Leonard, and various cousins. Evelyn briefs us on our roles, while Blackwell arranges documents in precise order. At 7:30 sharp, Evelyn rises. It's time. She leads our small procession through the apartment, her sterling silver cane tapping rhythmically against hardwood. We pause outside the dining room, where family voices mingle with the clink of glassware. Evelyn enters first, her slight frame commanding immediate attention. The room falls silent as she makes her way to the head of the table. I follow, Sabrina and Derek flanking me, with Blackwell bringing up the rear. My father half rises from his chair. Mother, what is the meaning of… Evelyn taps her cane sharply against the floor. The sound cracks through the room like a gunshot. You dare lay a hand on my granddaughter? Her voice, though quiet, carries to every corner. Richard's face flushes. Monica was upset. Valerie embarrassed us all. I may have overreacted, but… I've heard enough lies. Evelyn cuts him off. For 40 years, Richard, you've operated under the delusion that you control this family's fortune. She nods to Blackwell, who begins distributing documents around the table. Your position at the firm, your country club membership, this apartment Monica covets so desperately, all of it exists at my discretion. Monica's mascara-rimmed eyes widened. What are you talking about, Grandma? I'm talking about the truth, dear. Evelyn's smile is razor-sharp. And the truth is that Valerie purchased her penthouse with her own money, earned through her own work, unlike most people at this table. Derek steps forward. I've watched you bully Valerie for years, Uncle Richard. We all have. Murmurs ripple around the table as family members study the documents before them. My mother's face has gone chalk white. Evelyn taps her cane again. Effective immediately. I am revising my will. Every property, every investment, everything will go to Valerie. Monica rises, knocking over her water glass. You can't do that. Mascara streaks down her face in black rivers. It's not fair. Fair? I found my voice at last. Was it fair when you toured my penthouse with decorators while Dad planned to announce I was giving it to you? You've never appreciated anything, Monica shrieks. You have everything. Everything I worked for, I corrected her. 80-hour weeks while you took vacations. Richard slams his fist on the table. This is preposterous. You cannot. I can and I have. Evelyn nods to Blackwell, who produces a small recorder. Would you like to hear the conversations I've recorded over the years, Richard? Your financial manipulations? Your tax arrangements? The color drains from my father's face. On my phone, a video message arrives from my executive team, a unified statement of support, perfectly timed. Evelyn smiles at me. Stand firm, she whispers, loud enough for everyone to hear. This family's strength flows through you now. In the stunned silence that follows, I finally understand what real power feels like. Not control or domination, but the quiet certainty of standing your ground when it matters most. 3 days after the confrontation, I am back at work. I lean forward in my ergonomic chair, watching the number climb on the video counter. 2 million views and rising. My PR director Margot shifts uncomfortably beside me while my executive team sits in stunned silence around the conference table. It could be worse, Margot says, tucking a strand of silver hair behind her ear. The comments are overwhelmingly supportive. On the screen, the moment plays on loop, my father's hand connecting with my face, my sapphire earring bouncing across marble. The collective gasp of 35 socialites who thought they were attending a birthday party, not a public execution. We need to get ahead of this, says Margot. A statement, carefully worded. Not attacking your family, not playing victim. I nod, my fingers absently touching my cheek where the mark has faded but the memory remains raw. Focus on the business angle. Self-made woman, built from nothing, standing on my own merits. Someone knocks on the glass door. My assistant Taylor enters, tablet in hand. 2 things. First, 3 of your father's biggest clients have called requesting meetings with you instead. Second, the penthouse security upgrade is complete. New locks, new codes, new staff. The spare key Monica had is now useless. A small victory, the first of many I intend to secure. My phone buzzes. Another text from Monica. Please, Val, this is destroying everything. Jonathan's parents are demanding a prenup now. They saw the video. Let everyone see. Miss Mitchell? Taylor interrupts my thoughts. Your grandmother is on line 1. She says it's urgent. I take the call from the speaker. Grandmother Evelyn's voice fills the room, crisp as ever at 82. Valerie, my dear, the luncheon is set for Friday. 28 of the most influential women in finance will be attending. Wear something memorable. Evelyn, I'm not sure this is the time for… Nonsense. Your father is scrambling. Your mother's charity board has asked for her temporary resignation. The time to strike is now, while they're disoriented. The thought of my mother's humiliation brings me no joy, but I can't deny the symmetry of consequences beginning to unfold. After disconnecting, I open my email to find a message from Business Weekly, requesting an interview for their Self-Made Women series. The subject line, Rising Despite Obstacles, the Valerie Mitchell story. My phone rings again. Sabrina, turn on Channel 8, she says without preamble. Monica's doing an interview. I switch the conference room screen to live television. There sits my sister, eyes artfully reddened, wearing a soft pink sweater that makes her look younger, more vulnerable. It was supposed to be a surprise, she tells the sympathetic interviewer. The Penthouse has the perfect view for my wedding photos, and Valerie has 3 other properties. I just don't understand why she wouldn't want me to have this one special thing. The interviewer nods, but his expression reveals skepticism. 3 other properties? Our research shows Miss Valerie Mitchell owns only the Manhattan Penthouse, purchased through her own earnings. Monica blinks rapidly. Well, our family has properties she can use whenever she wants. But they're not hers. The interviewer presses. They might as well be, Monica insists, her voice rising. Our family has always shared everything. That's what families do. I click the screen off. There it is, the entitlement laid bare for everyone to see. My phone buzzes with a text from cousin Derek. Sending you something. Grandmother asked me to compile this. The attachment contains years of emails between my father and various family members, detailed accounts of manipulation, a pattern of taking credit for my accomplishments while minimizing them publicly. Later that evening, I sat at WRBN's studio for my radio interview. The host asks no questions about the incident, focusing instead on female entrepreneurship and the challenges of the fintech industry. I discuss my company's upcoming expansion, the $40 million in funding, and our hiring initiatives. Professional, composed, forward-looking. As I leave the studio, my phone rings. It's one of Richard's law partners. Valerie, Jim Sanders here. The partners are calling an emergency meeting regarding your father's position at the firm. This incident has raised concerns about judgment and temperament. We'd appreciate your discretion. I promise nothing. When I hang up, there's a voicemail from Monica's fiancé, Jonathan. I need to talk to you. About the wedding. About everything. In my car, I checked social media one last time. My parents' carefully curated image is crumbling post by post. My father's statement claiming I manipulated the situation has received hundreds of laughing emoji reactions. One comment stands out from Mrs. Henderson, a fixture at my parents' social gatherings for 20 years, always thought Richard Mitchell walked on water. Turns out he can't even keep his hands to himself. Valerie, we owe you an apology for our silence. The scales are tipping, not through my vengeful pushing, but through the natural consequence of truth exposed to light. I drive toward my penthouse, my sanctuary more secure now than ever before, both physically and in the court of public opinion. A week later, I arrange the files with military precision across my penthouse dining table. Financial records spanning 15 years, email printouts, voice recordings transcribed onto crisp white paper. The family legacy laid bare in black and white. They'll be here in 20 minutes, Sabrina says, setting down 2 glasses of water. She eyes the strategic layout. Are you sure about this? My fingers brush over Grandmother Evelyn's meticulous documentation of Richard's pattern of control. I'm not negotiating my dignity anymore. The doorbell rings precisely at 7. I straightened my sapphire blue blouse, the exact shade of the earring that bounced across the marble floor the night everything changed. The matching earring sits in my ear now, its partner replaced. When I open the door, I find exactly what I expected. My father stands front and center, shoulders squared in his tailored suit. My mother hovers half a step behind him, her eyes darting nervously. Monica stands to the side, the picture of contrition in a modest dress I've never seen before. Richard's face tightens when he spots Grandmother Evelyn seated regally in my living room. He hadn't expected reinforcements. What is this? He demands, his voice carrying the same authoritative tone he's wielded my entire life. We agreed to a family meeting. And we're having one, I reply, gesturing toward the living room. Every member of this family who matters is here. Monica's eyes widen at the sight of Sabrina, who raises her wine glass in silent greeting. She's not family. Monica protests. She's been more family to me than you have, I answered, closing the door with a quiet click. Richard attempts to take control the moment he enters the living room, moving toward the head of the table. Grandmother Evelyn taps her cane once against the hardwood floor. The sound cuts through the room like a judge's gavel. "Not today, Richard," she says, her voice carrying the weight of decades of unspoken authority. My father freezes mid-stride, then reluctantly takes a different seat. "We're here because we want to heal," my mother begins, her hands fluttering nervously. "Your father has something to say." Richard clears his throat. "This situation has gotten out of hand. The family name is being dragged through mud. Your grandmother is making rash decisions. You're costing Monica her future happiness. Her fiancé's family is reconsidering the match." "That's your apology?" I ask, raising an eyebrow. "I shouldn't have lost my temper," he concedes, as if granting me a favor. "But you provoked me publicly. Now let's discuss how we move forward. I've spoken with our attorney about possible challenges to your grandmother's impulsive decisions." I caught Sabrina's eye. Right on cue, as predicted. Elaine leans forward, her voice trembling. "Valerie, please. My blood pressure has been terrible since this all happened." The doctor says. "I have something to show you all," I interrupt, moving toward the dining table. Before anyone says another word, I spread the documents across the coffee table. Financial records highlighting my complete independence. A digital timeline showing years of favoritism, Christmas gifts valued and charted, opportunities offered to Monica and denied to me, quantified in brutal detail. "Dr. Harriet Winters, specialist in family psychology," I say, tapping a professional assessment. She reviewed recordings of our family interactions. Her conclusion? Consistent pattern of scapegoating and favoritism, creating an environment of emotional abuse. Richard's face darkens. "You recorded us?" "Only after that night," I clarify. "But grandmother has been keeping records for decades." Evelyn slides forward a leather portfolio. "Every manipulative comment, every sabotaged opportunity, every time you took credit for Valerie's achievements while dismissing her efforts." "This is ridiculous," Richard explodes, attempting to reassert control. "You've always been dramatic, Valerie, always trying to make yourself the victim." "Enough, Richard," Evelyn says, her voice quiet but commanding. Monica's perfect facade finally cracks. "You always had everything so easy," she shouts, mascara already threatening to run. "Perfect grades, perfect career, everything just falls into your lap." I look at my sister, truly seeing her for perhaps the first time, the golden child who never developed her own identity beyond being the favorite. "Easy?" I reply, my voice steady. "I worked 80-hour weeks while you took vacations on Dad's credit card. I built my company from nothing, while you were planning your third destination wedding to a man who's now questioning everything about you." Monica flinches as if I'd slapped her. My mother looks between us, her face crumpling. "We've been unfair to you for years," she whispers, the first honest words she's spoken to me in as long as I can remember. Richard stands abruptly. "I won't sit here and be lectured by my own daughter. This ends now." "Yes," I agreed, rising to meet his gaze. "It does end now. These are my terms for any future relationship. Family therapy with a neutral professional. A public acknowledgement of what happened at the party. An absolute respect for my boundaries, personal and professional." "You expect me to grovel?" Richard's face flushes dangerously. "I expect you to act like a father instead of a banker calling in a loan," I reply. He grabs his coat, storming toward the door. "This family is falling apart because of your selfishness." "This family is facing consequences because of yours," I corrected him. The door slams behind him. Monica sits frozen, suddenly anchorless without her father's presence. For the first time in her life, she looks small. My mother hesitates, glancing between the door and me. A lifetime of automatic obedience wars with something new in her eyes. "Elaine," Grandmother Evelyn says gently, "it's time to make your own choice." My mother's hand trembles as she sets her purse back down instead of following Richard. "I'd like to stay," she says, her voice barely audible. "If that's all right." The evening sun streams through my penthouse windows, casting long shadows across the room. In the fading light, I can see the first fragile outlines of a different future taking shape. I sip my coffee on the penthouse terrace, watching the morning light streak across Manhattan's skyline. 3 months have passed since that night in Chicago. The warmth of the ceramic mug grounds me as I breathe in the spring air, a sense of peace settling in my bones that once seemed impossible. My phone chimes. The notification banner reads, Valerie Mitchell named Innovator of the Year. I smile, not at the accolade itself, but at the quiet victory of building something lasting despite those who tried to claim it wasn't mine. Behind me, the penthouse stands transformed. Gone are the muted tones my mother once suggested would appeal to everyone. Now, bold splashes of turquoise accent walls lined with bookshelves housing technical manuals alongside first edition novels. The dining room table that Monica had measured for her entertaining plans now hosts my strategy sessions and weekly dinners with those who stood beside me. The doorbell rings. Right on time, I murmur, setting down my coffee. Grandmother Evelyn stands in the hallway, immaculate in her pearl gray suit, cane tapping impatiently. Don't just stand there gawking, she says, eyes twinkling. I brought that Bordeaux you like. I take the bottle, kissing her cheek. Sabrina's already setting the table. Congratulations on your award, Evelyn says, making her way to the living room. Proved those board members right, didn't you? Sabrina emerges from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a cloth. Table's ready, Derek called. He's running late. Said to tell you Richard's law partners voted yesterday. He's been asked to take early retirement. I nod, absorbing this without the gut punch such news would have delivered months ago. How do you feel about that? Sabrina asks carefully, like it's their business decision, not my family drama, I answer, surprised by my own equanimity. Later, as we prepare dinner, I recall yesterday's therapy session. Doctor. Winters had nodded approvingly when I described declining a project that would have meant working with Uncle Leonard's firm. Boundaries aren't just words, she'd said. They're actions consistently taken. The buzzer sounds again. Derek arrives bearing flowers and gossip about the family reshuffling since Richard's fall from grace. We settle into comfortable conversation that would have been impossible before speaking of my family without that familiar tightness in my chest. Mom asked to meet for lunch last week. I tell them, arranging water glasses, she's found an apartment. Leaving Dad was her idea, not his. Evelyn raises an eyebrow. About time. She apologized, I added. Really apologized. Not the sorry you feel that way kind. As if summoned by our conversation, my phone lights up with an email notification. Monica. The subject line reads, I understand now. I set it aside for later. Trust must be earned back gradually, like waiting for a fractured bone to heal. By evening, more friends gather in the space once coveted by my sister. We toast not just to my professional milestone, but to the harder-won personal growth. To standing firm, Grandmother says, raising her glass, eyes fierce with pride. After everyone leaves, I return to the terrace alone. The sunset paints the skyline in amber and gold, buildings glowing like beacons against darkening sky. I used to think loyalty meant sacrificing myself over and over. I'd measure my worth against how much I could endure, how much I could give away without complaint. Looking out at the vastness of the city as night falls, I finally understand. What you earn isn't an apology. The real family is the people who respect you, not the ones who try to take from you.